Hey guys, what's going on? IcyCat here. As part of the most recent technical test server, a new hidden feature was added to drone functionality that could change the way you play the game. This wasn't covered in the patch notes for the test server update at all. Let's go over this exciting new change next. As with all news and information that comes out of the technical test server, you need to remember that this is a test environment. They're looking at things like balancing and how well it's integrated and how much use something might get. So just because it's on the test server doesn't necessarily mean it's going to cross over into the live game. It just means that it could, though oftentimes it does. Now, the other day I released the patch notes for what the test server was all going to have in it. We talked about the various buffs and nerfs that were coming to operators like Finka and IQ and Blackbeard and Dokkaebi. But there were some things that they didn't go into in that patch update. Some things are basically just some stat changes for weapon damage ratios and things like that, but this one is a really big thing that can change the way that people play the game. But they didn't really tell anybody about it, and the optional setting to turn it on is kind of hidden in the menu systems. So let's take a look at this. If you go under the options and you go all the way over to the end here under the gameplay settings, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see this new setting for drone, and you have standard or advanced. Standard is, of course, what you're used to normally seeing. Advanced handles things a little differently here in a very interesting way. Basically, what this means is that as you play, you can throw out a drone and you will not automatically go into the camera mode to view the drone you just tossed out. That's of course super important because you are left vulnerable when that happens, and sometimes you throw that drone, something's going on, and you just aren't able to react to it because it's like the last thing you see is a gun barrel coming around the corner as you pull up that phone to view the camera you just tossed. Situations like that could wind up being a thing of the past if they bring this to the live game and you enable this setting. Now, by default, it is left to standard. You have to go into the menu setting and you have to turn it on to advanced. Otherwise, it will work the way it always has. Another strange thing to note is that on the test server, this is only available on PC. The test server does not exist on a console platform. And when you have a Xbox controller plugged into your PC, this function actually does not work. It behaves like normal even when advanced is enabled. You only get the functionality out of this when you use the keyboard. Now, for pretty much everybody playing on the PC, that's not a problem because they are using a mouse and keyboard. This creates a little bit of a struggle for me. I only play on console. I am not used to using a keyboard for my movement at all. As most people know, when you use a controller on the PC, it automatically remaps all the controls to that controller. And then if you switch to the mouse and keyboard, it instantly switches back to that. So you're always on the correct button mapping and you're always on the correct recoil profiles. So in this case, using the controller, I get normal functionality the way it's always been, even with the advanced toggle applied. But if I switch over to the mouse and keyboard, then using that keyboard, I am able to go ahead and throw this out. And you'll notice that what happens here is that I do not transition into that camera view right away. I've thrown it out. I can still move around, but you now have the ability to react to your environment without leaving yourself vulnerable for that gap. And you can pull this up at any time. There's so many situations where this is going to be a game changer. You'll find yourself in a very intense firefight. Maybe you want to get that drone in there for a quick bit of intel, but you don't want to leave that vulnerability up there while you do it. So you toss it in, you kind of make sure that you're safe, maybe hold that angle. And when you think you've got a quick second to look on the drone, you can, or you could just toss it in there and let your team be your eyes for you without ever leaving yourself vulnerable to that moment where you throw it out, you can't move, you're locked in that animation. Even if you try to get off of it right away, you still waste a couple of precious seconds doing so. This also changes things a little bit for defense too, because there are definitely situations where you can hear somebody, they're on the other side of a wall or a barricade, you hear them toss a drone, and you might think traditionally that this is a good time to go ahead and round that corner and rush them while they're distracted on that drone, but now that may not any longer be the case. You may do that and find them staring right at you, ready to take you down as you do that. This has been a highly requested feature pretty much since the game first came out. People have been asking for this functionality. It's not hard to see why. Anything that you do that causes you to lock in an animation in the middle of an intense situation, leaving you vulnerable, is something that you're going to generally want to avoid. But the mechanics of the game made it so that the only way to deal with that was to hide yourself into a protected position before you did so. A luxury that players can't always guarantee they're able to do in order to get that drone sent off. Now, with nothing more than the tap of a single button, you don't even really have to be all that involved in the intel gathering you can do in the middle of a very dynamic situation where you can't take the time to respond to it. You just literally toss that camera out, let your teammates be your eyes. You don't even have to get on the thing at all. As long as you had a good throw and it landed in even a somewhat decent spot, they're going to be able to have eyes in the room in a much faster way. Why this little tweak wasn't added into the patch notes for this test server session, I have no idea. We also don't know if this is something that's going to make it over to the live game or not. As I said before, this is only a setting that's being looked at in the test server. However, it is really interesting, and I, for one, hope that this winds up making it to the full game. I do also hope, though, that they wind up giving it controller functionality, and this isn't just a PC keyboard thing. Whether it's on the PC or if you're on the PlayStation or the Xbox, that would also have this ability too, not just lock to keyboard and mouse. Not sure why they made that decision on the test server that the controller locks that out, but this is a really cool feature. I can't wait to see it implemented. I hope it does make it to the full game. And what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below or share with me over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. Make sure you click that notification icon so you're alerted as soon as I make new content available. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.